Welcome to Men, Sex, and Tantra.
Discover what your parents, porn, and religion never taught you about being a man and having extraordinary sex. Get ready to have your mind blown and your world rocked. And my sexy accent cohort is still back with me. I'm going to refuse to say his name this entire time. Just say it now. It's Men, Sex, and Tantra. We're back. And what are we going to talk about today? It seems like every TikTok, every Facebook, everything, maybe it's just me, is on this whole sexual polarity, masculine, feminine, deal. And people are swinging hard on different sides. There was the great debate between this guy named Zach Rody, I think that was his last name, who got on his Facebook wall and was like, he believes that men should lead and women should follow, and men can't learn anything from women. And he's hardcore in the be the man in your relationship. And he threw down a challenge in his Facebook group and said that he was right, and he would debate anybody, challenge anybody to a conversation and show how he was right. And of course, being that, apparently masculine woman that I am, I had to take up the challenge. So I got on this debate with him. He said we had to put it on our Facebook walls. This is how confident he was as a man that he was going to win this, whatever thing he was doing. We had to put it on our Facebook walls and we couldn't take it down. I was like, sure, okay, let's do this. So I showed up in a pretty princess. You guys will laugh if you see me on YouTube in this, a little frilly crown and a pretty princess gown, just to make the point of femininity to him. And we debated. Well, he lost about, I think it was 4,000 last followers that ended up on my Facebook wall. So he lost that. It's a pretty great debate. It's on YouTube. If you Tanja Diamond, Zach Rody, something like that, you'll probably find us on YouTube. But I want to hear what you're talking about when you talk about masculine and feminine. What is it that you want these guys to know or understand about what's going on with this?
Sure. So my name is Michiel Doran.
It's Michiel.
And I'm happy to be back. My biggest interest and also my work and passion is around the larger scale toxic masculine that we're seeing in the world. But the interesting thing is that it also reflects in us, in people. Just the basics. So masculine and feminine just happens to be a real sensible or easy to understand way to slice and dice the psychology, if you will, and there are many other ways, of course. But it just makes sense, and it has nothing to do with male and female. We both, men want healthy masculine and healthy feminine, and women the same. And they need each other. That's the whole point. If they get out of balance, the society gets out of balance and we get out of balance. So the feminine is more about being, it's about creativity, it's about compassion, nurturing. It's actually the container out of which things can manifest. And that's the side of the masculine, which is about doing, it's about focus, about thinking, it's about being productive and disciplined. So what do I mean when I talk about dominant, unhealthy masculine? And this is already bringing it back to the personal level. Dominant, unhealthy masculine, which can also be in women. It's domineering, dictatorial. Think about the dictators we have in the world. Think about the bosses. It's resistance to the feminine, which is interesting with this little story from Tanja about Mr. Zach. It's always action, action, more action, moving. It's callous, it's obsessive, it's bragging, it's impulsive, it's refusing to listen, going back to our previous episode. It's hard-nosed, it's destructive, it's isolated, it's lonely in a way. And another characteristic is sex addiction, interestingly enough. So this is unhealthy masculine. And when the masculine and feminine become separated from each other, both tend to become negative. So it gets to be this ping pong. It gets to be this, one thing is dysfunctional, the other thing also gets dysfunctional. The masculine needs to honor the feminine, and then the feminine drops all revenge and will be in total support. Wouldn't that be great? And for the
I
same
gotta jump in
token,
just a second, because you said support. I want to really, most would say surrender. You just said support.
yes, it is support. It's coming from a sense of healthy self. A partner supports, not surrender.
Love this distinction. Yeah.
So really what is needed in the world is to bring back healthy feminine, not because we need more. And the thing is, there's lots of females that also need healthy feminine. There's so many hard-nosed, callous directors that happen to have vaginas, but apart from that, they're almost like men. So that is not really helpful either. And on a global scale, we need that feminine. We need to look at context. We need to embrace nature. We need to make sure we all live on a healthy planet, because that is just way more fun than being stressed out and working and seeing things get harder and harder. So that is my little preaching moment here.
The soapbox, the masculine, feminine soapbox. Well, what I really got from that I think that I enjoyed the most, and all the difference that I really heard, and I interrupted you for that, was the idea of support versus surrender. So men are taught to be those, actually I see men being taught to be that actually unhealthy version, like from childhood, like don't cry, don't ask anybody for help, just, be on purpose, but don't waver too much from that. Just go for what you want. So this driving force. And a lot of men are told that's exactly what you should do. That's being a man. That's what a man's all about. And the woman's supposed to just take your lead, surrender to it all, and be good. This is what we're hearing a lot. And I see more and more men asking that question too. Well, don't I have to be that to attract her? And it's like, you guys heard I had all the what do women want? I did a series of asking all these women, different ages, different countries and if you haven't heard that, you should go listen to it, to be really open about what they wanted. And I think almost all of them said that that's not what they wanted. They didn't want that hyper, quote unquote, hyper masculine man who was going to take charge without listening. I'm going to order for you, even though I have no idea what you want to eat, but you're going to like it. That's how it's going to be. So I find that refreshing, that you didn't use the word surrender, that you're using the word support. And I believe that the best of us as humans is that ability to balance and to dance between those masculine and feminine traits. Because you're right. Women, and especially American women, more and more hardcore women in their masculine energy almost all the time, without the ability. And if you're out doing your business and you're out in the boardroom and you're doing stuff, then yeah, maybe those traits are going to be helpful there. But if you can't come out of those traits when you come home, if you can't mother or be in relationship from a different space than that, you're going to be stressed out, like as in the self, the woman, you're going to stress out your relationship because you're going to be in direct competition then. Because the only thing that I see men do if they don't want to be in conflict or they love the person is they water down their masculinity, looking for that balance to not be in that competition. And so how do we roll through both? How do we incorporate both? And I know this is dear to you too, because it reflects, as you said, on the planet. This is a planetary thing. This isn't just an individual thing. And I like the word you used, I think it was last episode, use plural, you plural. But yeah, so how do you agree that we should encompass both of these things and we should be able to dance through these as needed?
Yeah, we will be, or we men will be much better, much more successful men, much better citizens, partners, if we balance the healthy masculine with the healthy feminine, because that's another distinction. It can be healthy and unhealthy. And the same can be said for women.
Yeah.
Because there's other aspects of unhealthy feminine that I don't really want to get into, but for instance, hoarding, not being able to make decisions, those are unhealthy feminine traits. So that also needs to be healed. But if we get to that dance and healthy masculine, yeah, it's great to focus and get that project done. But where does this project start? It starts in a context. Well, unless you have a boss and you go, yes, sir, I want to do this. But it starts in a context. It starts with creativity. It starts with holding space, out of which that beautiful American entrepreneurship can rise. Well, so that feminine is needed. Not female, feminine is needed in order to know what to focus on. So we need both. We cannot just focus. We need both. And we need hard work if we want to get something done, but we also need this reflection. We need this intuition. We need to be able to say, hey, it's not just following bullet points or steps on a map. It's also looking at the compass. It's checking the weather. It's looking at the context. And those are more feminine traits. Let's sit down and have a good evaluation, not just some other bloody meeting, but a good evaluation. Yeah. So feminine is about carrying, being a vessel for that what wants to be created and that project that needs to be done, how to best formulate that. So we do need both.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I'm always going to bring it back to sex, being that it's men, sex, and Tantra. Yeah. So how I look at that in the sexual context is that if you are constantly pounding away in action, and I'm literally meaning pounding away in action, everything goes numb for women. And understanding that the time you're not moving, the space you can create in non-action is actually where the intensity can build of the arousal, that space. So action, 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 driving forward, trying to move everything forward, trying to make a destination doesn't keep us, it keeps us in a very static kind of way versus that space, that allowing, that slowing down, that non-movement allows building more. So that's a way to think about that. Even if you're kissing, so if you take kissing, if you're both trying to kiss each other, it can kind of work sometimes, but kissing each other, both of you are driving the action back and forth, together, can be a little more awkward than if you're actually in the dance of the activity, one moving the action, the other receiving the action, and then the switching off, the different back and forth. That's kind of the dance that I'm talking about there. So yeah, that dance, receiving versus doing, giving space, building the tension is the giving space. You lean in to kiss somebody, and right before you get to their lips, you pause and breathe. You're actually building, that's the vessel, that's the space, that's the creativity, that's what you're building, but that builds instead of pushes into and only what's there. What do you think of that explanation?
No, I think it's a good explanation. And what I am so psyched about is how the big picture fits into the personal and the sexual, just as you were saying. So what does the feminine want or need? The feminine wants love and protection. And this is interesting because I'm sure you guys have run into this. And when she doesn't get it, she becomes critical, testy, even manipulative or invalidating, and ultimately castrating and emasculating. So that is what happens if the feminine turns totally unhealthy. The feminine needs gratitude. Yeah, thank her. Thank you yourself, your own feminine, for that intimate moment. She needs admiration. So that's on the large cosmic scale, but it's also in bed.
Yeah.
And it's not female versus male. It's also, yeah, holding back, not receiving those kisses. A feminine trait. Yeah, that's actually harder to do than taking charge all the time. Well, if you want a challenge, don't take charge all the time. You like challenges, do the opposite.
Yeah. In the world of the balance of the world, like you said, the doing and the receptive, the vessel and the movement. If you look at all of nature, you're seeing it all the time. So for those of you who are like, no, I can't, I have to be in my masculine all the time, my woman won't respect me, that's just not true. That is just not true. Unless she is in the opposite of the other unhealthy feminine, which is the feminine that cannot make a decision, the feminine that cannot, that's kind of like they need a father. That's what I find creepy about that. So the guys that are saying, here's the ultimate masculine in the relationship, they treat their women like children, which is like just really a little bit scary to me. The woman, you're supposed to, your man makes all his decisions and, all of this. And I'm like, wow, really? Seriously? You can't teach him anything. Those guys are extremists. Please don't listen to them. It's just not really going to be, for most couples, is not going to be a healthy route. What about men crying? What if a man needs a safe place to land? Does that make him less masculine?
Showing vulnerability is a good thing, unless you're in a war zone. And again, do you want a woman who is so programmed that she's not willing to see your weaknesses? Or do you want a woman who says, hey, it's okay, you know what? Here, I'm here, I'll listen to you. So what type of woman do you want?
Right, absolutely. I think that we're humans first. Humans encompass all of this texture and variety of being able to take action and kick back, of being able to do and receive, of being able to be strong and to be weak. And weak is okay. Weak is not a bad word in that regard. Vulnerable and courageous. Like all of the things that we have are not exclusive. We're not supposed to be in one lane as a human, as a full human. We're not supposed to be just in a masculine lane, just in a feminine lane. The ultimate, I think, self-development is working on how those go. And then you keep bringing up the perfect point, which is, if you are that developing yourself and you're leaning into those things, and the person that you're picking emasculates you, if a woman's emasculating you because you're vulnerable, if all of a sudden she's lost respect for you because you're actually a human being, yeah, kick her to the curb. It's like, next, forget about that. That's not how that is. This stress level, underlying stressors that happens when a human isn't engaged in all their faculties, when a human literally is trying to drive in one lane only that isn't natural. So that's what I see that happens, is this trying to, whether it's ultra feminine, woman's trying to be so ultra feminine while she's still, childbirthing's not feminine really. The act of birthing a child is very masculine because it is a doing activity. Just saying. Raising children, hello, that is not like, that is support, but it also requires discipline of many different things. So we're created to be it all. And I think to be healthy, I think we get toxic when we aren't engaging both of these aspects of us. I think that's what drives us to the toxicity, either overbalanced or underbalanced or overbalanced one way or the other. That's how I feel about it. So would you like, so what should a man do to start embracing these both aspects of himself?
Very simple answer. One is to educate himself on what it means to be healthy masculine and healthy feminine. The question already is a little bit slanted because it's about what should a man do. Maybe a man should sometimes just be present.
Not do.
Not to do anything.
Love
Just
that.
be present. Like I said before, listen, enjoy the company, build that trust and friendship. And I promise you, mutual sex is going to be a lot more fun and rewarding.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my suggestion is to stop listening to the dudes that are trying to tell you that this is how to roll as a man. Stop dating the women that are telling you that's how you have to be, and really explore those aspects. Are you using some creativity? Are you doing something that creates space and creativity in your life? Or are you just all like work and trying to hold that line? Do you allow yourself to be emotional? Because you are. Actually, men are way more sensitive than women emotionally until they learn to cut all that off. Be, as you said, let's not do, but be the full expression of a human you can be. Start exploring what that looks like and letting go of all of those beliefs and programming that society is telling you what a man looks like, should be, and everything else. Be the exception. How about that? Be the exception in this hyper masculinized culture that we're building. Try that on for size and see how that rolls. All right, we will see you in the next one.